I know the things I talk about don't always make sense, but the reason I talk to you about them does. Today I'm gonna tell you the story of the Illuminati, baby. On the 6th of February, 1748, Adam Weishaupt was born into a modest academic family in Ingolstadt, in the electorate of Bavaria, which is part of what is modern-day Germany. The Bavaria of Weishaupt's time was culturally rich yet conservatively bound by its Catholic heritage, which permeated every aspect of public and private life. This was a land where tradition clashed with the whispers of Enlightenment ideals, where the church held sway not only in spiritual matters but also in educational institutions. Ingolstadt in particular was like a beacon of religious orthodoxy, dominated by the University of Ingolstadt, which was controlled by the Society of Jesus, better known as the Jesuits. This order was renowned for its rigorous academic discipline and staunch defense of Catholic doctrine, shaping the minds of young people to serve both God and the Bavarian state with equal intensity, equal loyalty. Yet, within this conservative setting, the seeds of radical thought were being sown. The mid-18th century was a time of the Enlightenment, a movement that championed reason, science, and individualism over blind adherence to tradition. Philosophers across the continent debated ideas of liberty, democracy, and human rights, ideas that eventually found their way into the libraries and salons of Bavaria's intellectual elite. I know this sounds like a boring history lesson, but Adam's birth in such a time and place was not a matter of circumstance. No birth is. It was here, against the backdrop of towering cathedrals and shadowed lecture halls, that he would first encounter the forces of tradition and reform. The duality of Ingolstadt, with its Catholic roots and the undercurrents of Enlightenment thought, to me mirrored the duality that would come to define Weishaupt and his actions themselves. And as we get deeper into his life, you'll see how this city shaped the baby who would go on to found one of history's most enigmatic secret societies. Adam was the son of Johann George Weishaupt. I'm probably pronouncing something wrong. A well-respected professor of law at the University of Ingolstadt. His father's position within the academic community not only provided Adam with a stable and intellectually stimulating environment, but also set expectations for his future. Johann was known for his dedication to his studies and teachings, qualities that would have a profound influence on young Adam, instilling in him a deep respect for education and the pursuit of knowledge. Tragically, this idyllic academic upbringing was cut short. When Adam was only 5 years old, his father passed away, leaving a void in his life that had far-reaching effects. The loss of his father plunged the young boy into a state of uncertainty and vulnerability, exacerbating the challenges of growing up in a society governed by strict religious and social codes. His mother, whose details remain sparse in historical records, was suddenly left to raise Adam on her own. While she managed to maintain the household, young Weishaupt would need more support, both emotionally and intellectually, than she could provide on her own. It was under these circumstances that Johann Adam von Eichstätt, yes, and another Johann. Why is everyone named Johann? A close friend and colleague of Adam's late father, stepped in to become his godfather and guardian. Von Eichstätt was not just a legal scholar, but also the director of the University of Ingolstadt, known for his progressive ideas and advocacy for the Enlightenment's rationalist ideals. Living with von Eichstätt, Adam found himself in an environment where intellectualism and progressive ideas were part of everyday discussions. Fancy. The stark contrast between his godfather's enlightened views and the conservative atmosphere of Ingolstadt's institutions could not be ignored. Von Eichstätt encouraged Adam to question everything, to look beyond the surface of conventional teachings, and to explore a wide array of subjects, including those that challenged existing religious and political structures. The loss of his father and the intellectual and emotional stepping in of von Eichstätt shaped not only his outlook on life, but to me also his aspirations. It seemed to instill in him a resolve to pursue substantial change in the world, a resolve that would later manifest in the founding of the Illuminati. Adam Weishaupt's early experiences of loss, combined with the nurturing yet challenging environment provided by his godfather, were pretty significant in forging the path that he would follow into adulthood. While living with von Eichstätt, Adam had access to an unconventional library, rich with works that were often deemed radical by contemporary standards. These included not only texts on recent scientific advancements by thinkers like Isaac Newton, but also writings on social contract theory by John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. I hope I said that right. Which argued for the primacy of individual rights and the legitimacy of governments derived from the consent of the governed. Of course. Maybe more provocatively, the library also housed work on alchemy, astrology, and the occult. Subjects that fascinated Weishaupt and fed his growing interest in hidden structures of knowledge and power. This exposure to a broad spectrum of knowledge did more than just educate Weishaupt. It sparked a critical turning point in his intellectual development. He began to see the potential for applying rational thought and scientific method not just to natural phenomena, but to social and moral questions as well. The secretive nature of the occult texts, in particular, showed him the power of hidden networks and esoteric knowledge, elements that he would go on to incorporate into the structure of the Illuminati. Moreover, von Eichstätt encouraged Weishaupt to engage with these ideas actively, fostering an environment of debate and discussion. This period under von Eichstätt's care, to me, undoubtedly laid the philosophical and operational foundations for what would eventually become the Illuminati. It instilled in Weishaupt a belief in the power of education to liberate minds, and a conviction that secrecy and strategy were necessary to effect change in a society bound by conservative religious and political institutions. That sounded really boring. Let's talk about Adam Weishaupt's education at the University of Ingolstadt. It immersed him deeply in the world of Jesuit teaching. The Jesuits were known for their rigorous academic discipline, as I said earlier, and their unwavering loyalty to the Catholic Church. At Ingolstadt, their influence was profound, molding young minds with a curriculum that tightly interwove theology with philosophy and science, all of course within the framework of Catholic orthodoxy. Weishaupt's time at the university was a period of intense intellectual engagement. The Jesuit approach to education was and is methodical and comprehensive, designed to instill a mastery of classical languages, a deep understanding of biblical texts, and a thorough grounding in scholastic philosophy. However, the same educational rigor that was supposed to produce a devout and disciplined scholar are actually what sowed the seeds of rebellion in Weishaupt. The Jesuits taught their pupils to question, analyze, and debate, albeit within the boundaries of Catholic dogma. So for Weishaupt, these skills became tools for questioning the very foundations that these religious boundaries were built upon. As Weishaupt advanced in his studies, he started growing increasingly aware of the contradictions between the Enlightenment ideals he explored under von Eichstätt and the dogmatic teachings of his Jesuit educators. The issue was exacerbated by the censorship and intellectual conformity enforced by the Church, which clashed with Adam's belief in reason and empirical evidence as the basis for knowledge. To him and others, this restrictive environment highlighted the vast gap between the potential for human achievement and the limitations imposed by orthodox structures. From what we can see, Weishaupt's intellectual rebellion began to take shape through his interactions with his peers and professors. He was known to engage in debates, subtly challenging the conventional views on authority, morality, and religion. Over time, his questions became more pointed, his critique sharper, and his interest in alternative philosophical and political theories grew stronger. These interactions were not without risk, as dissenting views were often met with suspicion or outright hostility in the tightly controlled university environment, in the tightly controlled university setting. It was within the walls of the University of Ingolstadt that Weishaupt's vision for a secret society began to crystallize, a society that would operate beneath the surface of traditional institutions, using the methods of the Enlightenment to challenge and ultimately change the world. The Illuminati, conceived in the shadows of academia, was Weishaupt's answer to the intellectual and spiritual confinement that he experienced at the hands of the Jesuits. It would be a group committed to the pursuit of knowledge without bounds, and to the transformation of society through reason, science, and secrecy. So even as Adam navigated his formal education under the strictures of Jesuit doctrine at the University of Ingolstadt, his intellectual appetite began to get weird. It began to stray beyond the conventional boundaries set by his educators. Influenced by the eclectic library of his godfather, Johann von Eichstadt, Adam was introduced early to a world where the mystical and esoteric offered alternative insights into the nature of reality and human potential. Weishaupt's style of study was further influenced by the Enlightenment's emphasis on empirical evidence and rational thought, which encouraged him to question everything, even the legitimacy of the mystical practices he studied. So rather than accepting these esoteric ideas at face value, Adam subjected them to the same scrutiny he applied to his religious education. This critical engagement with mystical and occult texts helped him to develop a nuanced understanding of the power of hidden knowledge, both its potential to enlighten and its capacity to deceive. The secretive nature of esoteric societies and their complex systems of symbolism and ritual also fascinated Weishaupt. He saw in these societies a model for how small, dedicated groups of enlightened individuals could operate within society while remaining apart from its mainstream structures. The idea of an elite group working behind the scenes to steer the course of events resonated deeply with Weishaupt, who increasingly felt that open efforts to promote radical change were doomed to be crushed by conservative ruling forces. Thus, as Weishaupt's ideas for his own secret society began to take shape, they were infused not only with Enlightenment rationalism, but also with a strategic secrecy and structured hierarchy that was characteristic of the esoteric traditions he studied. In this context, you could look at the Illuminati not merely as a group of political reformers, but as an experiment in applying the principles of esoteric knowledge to the practical goal of societal change. By blending the rational with the mystical, Weishaupt hoped to create a powerful tool for enlightenment, one that could penetrate and reconfigure the foundational structures of power in European society. As Adam Weishaupt ascended from a curious student to a respected professor at the University of Ingolstadt, his ideas about societal reform crystallized into a bold, actionable plan. Surrounded by the conservative and often stifling atmosphere of the university, which was still under the strong influence of the Jesuits, Weishaupt grew increasingly disillusioned with the slow pace of academic and social change. He recognized that if significant reform was to be achieved, it would not come through public discourse or open challenge, but through covert influence and strategic maneuvering. From what I can see, the pivotal moment came in 1776, a year marked by revolution both in America and in Weishaupt's own thinking. Inspired by the American colonies' fight for independence and governance based on Enlightenment principles, Weishaupt decided it was time to act. On the 1st of May, 1776, he founded the Order of the Illuminati, initially called the Covenant of Perfectibility. The group later adopted the name Illuminati, suggesting that its members were enlightened by knowledge hidden from the general populace. Weishaupt's vision for the Illuminati was revolutionary. He imagined a secret society that would infiltrate the pillars of power, government, finance, and education, to reform them from within. The Illuminati would operate under a strict, hierarchical system inspired by the Freemasons, yet distinct in its goals. Membership was selective, comprising intellectuals, nobles, and other influential figures who shared Weishaupt's frustration with the oppressive social order and his passion for Enlightenment ideals. The structure of the Illuminati reflected Weishaupt's meticulous nature and academic background. He developed complex rituals and a series of graded initiations, each designed to test commitment and expand the knowledge of initiates, much like the ancient Egyptian mystery schools. The society was divided into classes and grades, mimicking the very academic institutions Weishaupt sought to reform. These included the nursery, which encompassed the preparatory ranks, focused on recruitment and initial indoctrination, and then the Masonic grades, which delved deeper into the society's philosophical and political ambitions. Secrecy was paramount, not only to protect members from potential retribution, but also to create a sense of exclusivity and intrigue. Weishaupt ingeniously crafted a network of spies and counter-spies within the group to enforce loyalty and secrecy. This clandestine nature added to the allure of the Illuminati, attracting members who could actually influence political decisions and public opinion. However, the very secrecy that protected the Illuminati also allegedly sowed the seeds of internal conflict and external suspicion. As the society grew, so did the challenges of keeping its activities hidden. Rumors began to circulate, fueled by the society's mysterious aura and its rapid spread through Bavarian society. The Illuminati's goal of undermining the church and promoting secular Enlightenment ideals eventually attracted the attention of the conservative authorities. Despite these challenges, Adam Weishaupt played a role that would leave an indelible mark on history. The original Illuminati, though short-lived, would become a legend, inspiring countless theories and debates about its influence, legacy, and continuity. This was just a story of the Illuminati baby's journey, from a scholar at Ingolstadt to the founder of one of the most enigmatic societies in history. Though we see a man, and to some a monster, we also see a movement that for a brief moment wanted to change the course of the world for the better. I could have started anywhere, and that's why this isn't where we started. This is a story of just one man, in fairly recent times, that did a few things that may or may not have left the world changed. The reason I'm going to be talking about the things I'm going to talk about is to give you a colloquially fitting and within the rules series of clues leading out of this thing that we're in. I'm not a white rabbit, or I'd simply expect you to follow me. But the path of the white rabbit is a dangerous one. So all I ask is that you examine the data and contemplate, because you are worthy of the truth in all ways, absolutely.